Hello and welcome everyone. In last class, we was discussing about functions of RBI, and under the functions of RBI, I have explained you about RBI's functions as a banker's bank, right? So, as a banker's bank, and after that, I have discussed with you RBI's function, bank. RBI is a bank to the government, is government bank. So under the government bank, I have discussed with you, RBI maintains the accounts of Government of India as well as it functions as a lender to the Government of India as well as state government. And under that, I have explained to you how RBI functions in that manner, provide the lending, right? And I also brief you about the SLR. Fine. So how the SLR work and how with the help of SLR and CRR, entire nature of economy can be changed from socialist to capitalist and even capitalist to socialist if there will be radical change in CRR and SLR. Right. So one more thing which I have to discuss here because it is required to understand in the proper manner. I told you when I was discussing about government borrowing, I told you uh, when government borrow, they issue the securities. They issue the securities, and these securities are of short term and long term. Short term security issued by government is known as T bills or treasury bill, whereas long term government security is known as government bond. Combinedly, they are known as GSES, sometimes gilt edged. Gilt edged securities. So gilt edge securities, basically this term was started being in using in UK, right? So in Europe, gilt GILT, not GUILT, GILT, gilt edge securities means something unique and special where you can trust. So that is why they are also known as gilt edge securities, right? Now I told you the government bond that can be of minimum 1 year and go to up to even 40 years. Whereas when we talk about the treasury bills that is of 91 days, 182 days, and 364 days. Roughly 3 months, 6 months, and up to 1 year. Up to 1 year. And till then, 1997, another treasury bill was in use that was known as ad hoc treasury bill. Ad hoc treasury bill, right? So ad hoc treasury bill was discontinued in 1997, and ways and means advanced, WMA, ways and means advance came into the picture. Since then, WMA is used. When pandemic was started and government went for lockdown in March 2020, then for that financial year 2020 to 2021, then again for 21 to 22 financial year, WMA facility was increased by RBI, and that was in news, and that was a discussion point among the economists, bankers, and analysts of Indian economy. Right. So that was a point of discussion, and it generally under the discussion whenever RBI will issue a circular on the WMA, that comes under the news. So you must know what is WMA and how it is work, right? And apart from here, we will also discuss this part in budgeting chapter. So either we can discuss it here or we can discuss there. But what I feel that if you are able to understand it here, it will be much easier for you to understand the policy related issues, because in your syllabus there is one part, uh, political economy and politics related to policies. So how policy related political issues are being there, we have to discuss, right? So if you are able to understand this technical part here, it will be a lot easier for you to understand the policy related part and issue related to this easier there, right? For example, there are the many economists and especially government officials who are working for the government in the finance ministry. They always feel and believe that the debt management right now, who is managing debt for government of India? RBI is managing debt for the government of India, but there are some economists and especially government related economists, they feel that the debt management of GOI should be done by independent agency, right? Independent agency rather than RBI, right? So there are some issues, uh, and sorry, if we know the technical part here, then when we will discuss the policy related part in budgeting chapter or unit, it will be going to be little bit more easier for you to understand the policy related part or analytical part. So that's why I'm going to discuss the technical part here. Right. So what is WMA? To understand WMA, first you have to understand the ad hoc treasury bill. What is treasury bill? A short-term debt security issued by government. Right. So ad hoc means literally literal sense. What is the literal sense of ad hoc? Means something which is temporary. Right. So which is temporary, it is known as ad hoc. Ad hoc ad hoc basis, right? So ad hoc treasury bill, so something which is temporary in the nature, we use this term ad hoc, right? So from this literal understanding, we will try to understand what is ad hoc treasury bill. Once India got independence in 1947 and RBI was nationalized in 1950, so government want RBI to play an active role not only in the currency and banking management but in development India's development, right? So RBI was working as a government bank, right? Government bank, but what government want, RBI should play more proactive role in development, especially economic development of India, right? So how these two roles can be played actively? Actually, government has requested कि sometimes there is a cash flow mismatch in the government account. So there is a government account, right? So there is a government account, and from this account there will be inflow inflow of money, and there will be outflow of money, right? So sometimes situation arises the inflow of money is not available, means this account do not have sufficient money. This account do not have a sufficient money on temporary basis, and that is why some of the payments which have to be made by the government is not able to be completed, right? So government has requested, because of this problem, some development activities and development related schemes are not being funded properly and the payments is not being made. So we request you to maintain the flow. Maintain the flow, inflow, so that outflow can be maintained it properly. Means there should be some money in this account always, so that the payments which have to be made by the government to various welfare schemes cannot be stopped, and it should be go in the proper flow. This is what government has requested to RBI. So RBI agreed, and RBI said that okay, fine, for every Friday, right? For every Friday, we will make sure that this account should have minimum 50 lakh balance. Every Friday, when the working is going to be closed, most of the government institutions or offices work 5 days basis, right? Especially at that point of time. I'm talking about government of India, right? I'm not talking about government of India's companies, PSUs, banks. I'm talking about the government offices. So most of the government offices work for 5 days at that point of time. Maybe today they are working on 6 days or even 7 days, but in general they work for 5 days, right? So what was decided? It was decided in government account on every Friday when the business is going to be closed, make sure that it have minimum 50 lakh balance, right? Minimum 50 lakh balance. Whereas on any other day, it must have a balance of 4 crores. Any other day, it must have minimum balance of 4 crores. And on Friday, because after that, Saturday and Sunday, most of the people uh, are doing their weekends and less amount of government functioning. So there will be less monies required. So Friday, it must have 50 lakh, and on any other day it must have 4 crore. And government has requested to RBI to make it possible, means you have to assure us that this both accounts will have minimum 50 lakhs on Friday and 4 crores or any other day. This is what you have to ensure, so that our outflow for any government related schemes or any government related expenditure must be maintained. And for that, because if the money is not sufficiently available here, suppose that on Friday it is only 30 lakh available, so RBI have to replenish 10 more lakh in this account, right? So technically if RBI is going to put 10 lakh in that account on Friday, so RBI is lending to whom? To government for temporary purpose. For temporary purpose, right? But there is a lending by RBI to government, so government is borrowing. So if government is borrowing, government must have to issue debt security, but debt security is for short time, short and temporary. So that is why short and temporary, it was the reason why it is known as ad hoc treasury bill. So for this purpose, ad hoc treasury bill came into the picture, right? However, apart from this agreement, another part of the agreement was that definitely if RBI is going to lend the money and government is going to borrow that money, there will must be interest rate. So interest rate will be charged by RBI on government. So that interest rate was fixed around 4%. Annual interest rate 4%. So suppose that that money was in government account for 3 days. So annual interest rate is 4%. So accordingly, 3 days interest rate will be calculated, and government have to repay that money with interest when the money will come to the government account. Right. So this facility was created, and the purpose was to avoid any temporary mismatch of cash in government account. What was the purpose? Purpose was to avoid any temporary mismatch in government account. So that is why ad hoc treasury bill system was introduced in 1950. Right. But later on, that ad hoc treasury bill became a problem, especially to maintain the financial stability. It is like that. Suppose you are a student and you are preparing for your exam, right? By uh, going to Delhi or some other place, right? So you went there and your family is funding you for accommodation, fooding, and studying at Delhi. So every month, family is sending 10,000. 10,000 is going to be less amount. Suppose that family is sending 15,000 rupees on monthly basis, right? But father told you that ki whenever this account is going to be less than 7,000, automatically I will transfer the money and will make it 15,000. So we will give you 15,000, but in case your account balance is going to be below 7,000, then we will make sure that it should be at 15,000. So that in any case, you should not face any difficulty regarding coaching, test series, food, whatever, right? So parents make it sure that key account balance should not be go below than 7,000. Once you will know this thing ki my account balance is never going to be below than 7,000, it will be automatically replenished, right? So maybe you can go in the comfort zone. In the comfort zone, the things which is maybe not required, right? And you have to think this thing in your mind ki I should not waste my father's money. But because you know this feature is available, so maybe you are prone to misuse this money. And that was exactly happened in the case of government of India. What happened with the government of India? Government got this understanding that whenever the money is going to low, it will be automatically replenished by whom? RBI, by issuing ad hoc treasury bills, and account will be maintained. So after some point of time, government of India feels that it is a source of your revenue or source of income, right? The objective was to avoid any temporary mismatch. But once the government got this comfort ki okay, money will be automatically get by the RBI, right, without making too much effort, and plus on the fixed interest rate. On the fixed interest rate, there will be no auction. We will get money at the minimum interest rate, right? So government basically started using this feature whenever government have a requirement of money. Government was not trying to focus to generate more sources of income. Government was not focusing enough to generate more sources of income. In spite what they are doing, they are every time using this facility. Whenever they have any expenditure and they want to fulfill, they have started using it rather than focusing to generate more sources of income. And because every time money is available from you, from RBI, so RBI have to fulfill this obligation. Now, how RBI can fulfill this obligation? RBI can fulfill this obligation either whatever the money RBI have in reserve. From that reserve, it is going to replenish that money, or RBI is going to borrow from banks and then fund it to the government. right? So if money is coming from the banks or other financial institutions, right? So if money is coming from the bank and other financial institution, then money supply is not going to be disturbed very much. Money supply is not going to be disturbed very much. How? Suppose that RBI has printed 100 rupees, and out of that 100 rupees, 10 rupees RBI have put in reserve, 40 rupees is with public, right? Public in the form of cash, whereas 40 rupees or 30 rupees is with the government, right? And 20 with banks, right? So RBI has printed 100 rupees, but out of that 100 rupees, RBI have 10 rupees in reserve. So in economy, how much money is flowing? 90 rupees. In economy, the money is flowing, that is 90 rupees. Right. So suppose that RBI want to replenish money in the government account by ad hoc treasury bills, and for that purpose it has borrowed money from the bank. Right. So some money from the bank will go to the government via RBI. So the supply of money will be remain 90. But if banks do not have that money to give RBI, then in that case, what is going to happen? RBI is going to use money from the reserve. Right. Suppose that government has requested for 4 rupees. So 4 rupees. So RBI went to the bank and RBI taken 4 rupees from the bank and given to the government. So bank is now having 16 and government have 34. But money flowing is 90. So economy is having 90 rupees only. Right. Bank have 16 and government have from 30 to 34. But if banks are not able to give money to the government or RBI because they already have very limited availability of money. So in that case, to provide money to the government, what RBI will do? RBI from 10, it will take 4 and it will provide to the government. So the supply of money in the economy is going to be increased from 90 to 94. Supply of money is going to increase from 90 to 94. Right. So, in the economic system, unnecessary extra money will be in circulation. And when the money supply is going to be increased unnecessarily or not properly, then there is a chance of rising inflation. So one problem was faced by the RBI. RBI is not able to tackle inflation because many times RBI have to fund government by giving the money from the reserve. And gradually what happened from 1950s to 1960s to 1970s. From 1950 to 60 to 70s, this ad hoc treasury bill size was increasing phenomenally, right? Exponentially it was increasing. So government started using this facility for financing their budgetary expenditure. Government has started using this facility for financing their budgetary expenditure. It was started for just fulfill the temporary mismatch in order to run without any hindrance all governments economic development related policies. But gradually, it became a source of financing for the government. RBI many times pointed it out कि see, it can create a big problem. It can create a big problem, and especially in 1980s. I think you have heard about Dr. Y. V. Reddy. Dr. Y.V. Reddy. So Dr. Y.V. Reddy, former governor of Reserve Bank of India, right? And he was working with the Reserve Bank of India and working with the government also. So he many times pointed it out कि it is not good for the economy, right? It is not good for the economy because RBI is not able to maintain and manage monetary policy properly and inflation properly because government has started using this facility as a source of budgetary finance rather than just using for avoid any temporary mismatch. So facility was created to avoid temporary mismatch, but you have started using as a source of finance. So many times in the reports, RBI and especially Dr. Y.V. Reddy have mentioned this thing. Ki this is not good for the economy. Finally, when in 1991, India has faced a big economic crisis. So that economic crisis has forced government officials, RBI, and all other intellectual in the field of uh, economics, कि government must restrain itself. Government must restrain itself, and government have to show some fiscal discipline. Fiscal discipline means to manage expenditure and receipts properly. Right. So, and another important thing in 1980s, who was the governor of RBI, especially during 1987? 1987, Dr. Manmohan Singh. Dr. Manmohan Singh was the governor of RBI, and in 1991, after 1991 financial crisis, he became the finance minister. So when you was in RBI, you was understanding the problem. Ki yes, this is the problem, and we are pointing out to the government again and again, but government is not showing any proper interest. But when he became the finance minister, he realized that ki yes, it is a problem, and government must show some discipline, right? So in 1994, in 1994 RBI and Government of India both agreed to phase out ad hoc treasury bill system as a source of financing for budgetary expenditure. Whatever the expenditure you have a budget to finance that expenditure, we are not going to use this ad hoc treasury bill system, right? And we will phase it out gradually in next 2 to 3 years, and deadline was decided for 1997. After Dr. Manmohan Singh, PC, not Priyanka Chopra, P. Chidambaram became the finance minister of India, right? So P. Chidambaram was also having very positive mindset regarding uh, abandon this ad hoc treasury bill system. But he also pointed that ki, okay, we do understand government was misusing it. We agree ki government was misusing this ad hoc treasury bill system, right? We agree. But ad hoc treasury bill system was created for some objective, and we still need that thing. So, what is the bottom line? Bottom line is कि we must have some facility which can avoid temporary mismatch. But at the same time, we also make it sure that कि it should not be misused as a source of finance. So Chidambaram said that कि see, we have to go for very practically, right? What practically? Practically means government needs some kind of the facility which assure there will be no temporary mismatch. But at the same time, government also have to promise that facility is not going to be misused as a source of finance for budgetary expenditure, right? So after various rounds of talks, between RBI and Government of India, it was decided that we will introduce ways and means advance facility. So we are going to stop using this ad hoc T-bills. In place of ad hoc treasury bill system, we will introduce ways and means advance. Now question arises how ways and means advance is different from this ad hoc treasury bill system. How it is different from ad hoc treasury bill system, we have to understand. Right. So in order to understand it properly, we have to differentiate what are the difference between WMA and ad hoc T-bills. Right. Just give me a second. Okay. Now, so we must have to understand what is the difference between ad hoc treasury bill, ad hoc treasury bill, and newly introduced ways and means advance. So in ad hoc treasury bill, interest rate was fixed. For example, 4%. That is not in case of WMA. Interest rate will be mutually decided between Government of India and RBI. So interest rate will be mutually decided. That means it will be at par or near to at par with market interest rate. Not exactly the market interest rate, but when the negotiation will held, government is going to ask for minimum interest rate, and RBI is going to tell them ki see, this is the market interest rate. For example, market interest rate is 7% and government want 4%. So definitely government is not going to get it at 4% because RBI is going to say that the market interest rates are 7%. So somewhere around 5.5 or 5.6 or something like 6% interest rate will be negotiated between Government of India and RBI, and it is not going to be the permanent. Whatever the interest rate is going to be fixed between Government of India and RBI, that is for particular financial year. This feature was not there. In ad hoc treasury bill, this feature was not available. In ad hoc treasury bill, interest rate were fixed and it was going from 1950s onwards, right? However, here every year interest rate will be negotiated between Government of India and RBI. Second, for every financial year, government have to give estimate how much amount we need under WMA to avoid any temporary mismatch. How much estimated amount we need, whereas RBI through their circulars before the beginning of any financial year. For example, next financial year, that is financial year 2022 to 2023, is going to start from 1st of March, and for that financial year, RBI is going to announce. RBI is going to announce कि we have fixed the limit of WMA for GOI is suppose that 75,000 crores or 60,000 crore or 70,000 crore. So this money will be available, is going to be available to the government of India for that particular financial year under WMA. If government is going to borrow apart from that money, then the market interest rate is going to be applicable for the government also. So for WMA, this negotiated interest rate is going to be there, and if government will borrow, then government have to borrow through RBI at market interest rate, right? So that will be applicable in this case. So earlier that was nothing like that. So government can borrow unlimited amount through ad hoc treasury bills, but now here the amount is limited. So if amount is limited, I have given you the example. RBI has printed 100, but in circulation 90 rupees was there. RBI has printed 100, but 90 rupees was in circulation and reserve money was 10 rupees. Now, once the limit is decided, so it will be easier for RBI to manage this 90 rupees in such a manner WMA facility can be work, right? So it will be better for RBI to manage the money supply in the economy if limit is already decided. Earlier limit was not decided, so RBI was always having a big headache and problem ki how to manage liquidity so that inflation will not create an issue, right? So this feature was introduced under WMA, right? And for every year WMA facility is going to be decided. During corona, means during the lockdown phase, financial year 2021, then for financial year 2021 2022, for this year, for these 2 years, when the lockdown was there, economic activity was not there, definitely government resources of sources of income was degraded during that financial year. So for example, for financial year 2019-20, limit was, just for your example, that is not exact figure, just for your understanding, for 1920 this figure was 60,000 crores, but for financial year 2021 it was increased to 1.25 lakh crores. So more than double. So WMF facility was being doubled by RBI for government, right? Why? Because RBI also know that government do not have money through the taxes and other sources of income because of lockdown and less number of economic activity in India, and government is in problem. So by understanding this thing, RBI has automatically increased the borrowing under WMA. Fine. And again it was same kind of facility for 2021-2022. But you have seen that continuously economic activity is increasing in India. Continuously economic activity is increasing in India, and many people believe that ki Indian economy is on recovery path. Since last 6 months, our GST collection is more than 1 lakh crores. For continuously 6 months, we are able to get this GST collection of more than 1 lakh crore, which is a sign that economy is on recovery path, right? So by knowing all these facts and knowledge, understanding what is WMA, what do you think? What do you think? Is RBI is going to have same facility, or it is going to drastically decrease. Like again, it is going to be around 75,000 crore. What do you think? I'll see your comments at the end, but you can post your comments in YouTube chat. Right? What do you think? Is RBI is going to radically decrease, or is RBI is going to maintain that high amount of WMA facility? Right. So before going to answer, you can think the present situation apart from what is happening in last 6 months. In last 6 months, yes, of course, our GST collection is increasing, right? But again, the Omicron and related problem is arising, and people are estimating in next 15 to 20 days, India is going to suffer properly, means severely, with third wave. And in that case, maybe lockdown like situation will be there. So there is uncertainty. There is uncertainty. Despite economy on the recovery path, there is uncertainty. So when we have to answer this question, we have to keep both things in our mind. Okay, economy is on recovery path, right? Second thing, there is a kind of maybe there will be a problem of third wave like we have faced in the second wave or the first wave. So what we think, we think that okay, maybe RBI is not going to maintain the same amount, but at the same time RBI is not going to decrease the amount which he has offered in last two financial year radically. So maybe it is going to decrease. Maybe it is going to decrease, but not radically like 75,000 crore from 1.25 lakh crores. It may be like 90,000 crore or 1 lakh crore WMA will be there, so that there will be a buffer or a space for government to avoid any temporary mismatch. Right. So when we know the things properly, we understand the concept properly, it is easier for us to analyze what policy action is supposed to be taken by RBI, what policy action supposed to be taken by government of India, right? So if you know these technical things, then it is easier for you to guess, or you can analyze that this course of action can be taken by the government of India, right? And your understanding is going to make for that firm where you are working, this ability is going to let you make huge amount of money. Why people in who are working in IMs, right? Oh, sorry, who are studying in IMs, why they are able to get very good packages, or even IIT students, why they are able to get very handsome amount of package. Why? Because they generally go for the financial services, right? Financial services, any credit rating agency or some financial institution, they are going to be hired by them. They are going to be hired by them. You can see what package is being offered, right? Especially those people who are doing the MBA from the reputed institutions, they are not being hired by any normal kind of the firm, oil company or something like that. They are going to be hired by financial companies, right? Like international bank, because they are capable of making right predictions. That is not just a prediction, that prediction is based on a proper analysis. So it is required, you should be good in that part, and for that you should understand the basics, right? If you will understand the basics, then it will be always helpful for you. I have given you the example of what in the very first lecture. I have given you the example of present governor Shashikant Das, right? He is from history background, but he has developed his interest in the subject of economics, and he is a governor of RBI right now, right? Full-time banking career. Even YV Reddy was a career civil servant. He was a career civil servant, and he is from Hyderabad, right? So I got an opportunity to meet him, and I was attending his lecture, right? He was delivering one lecture, And he told about himself, though I studied about him in his autobiography. Just a very inspiring story I want to share. I will not take too much time, just 5 to 6 minutes I am going to take, but that is very inspiring story, right? So YV Reddy was youngest child of his father, and he always want to excel in the subject of economics, right? And after his board and 10th and 12th, he told his father ki father, I want to study economics. And at that point of time of his means, when he was about to go for his graduation, Madras University was one of the topmost university in the south, right? And his father sent him there, and he topped for all 3 years, and he broke all the records in the Madras University in BA economics, right? And he came back to his native place in Hyderabad, right? And his father was PA to district magistrate. So PA to district magistrate, and his father, because he has seen the working of district magistrate, so he always want one of his son to be the district magistrate, clear the civil services exam. But YV Reddy was something different in his mind. He want to excel in the subject of economics. So when he came back to Hyderabad, he asked his father, "Ki I want to do for MA economics," and he joined the Hyderabad University. Right. So he joined the Hyderabad University and started studying MA economics. But at the same time, he was teaching graduation students, those students who are doing graduation in the economics. Right. So he started teaching, and he was also doing his MA economics. Right. And you know that every year degree is being given to the students, right? And to distribute the degree to the students, especially PhD degree or आपका graduation degree or post graduation degree, you invite some eminent person, right? So eminent person was invited by the Hyderabad University, right? It is a trivia for you also. I'm not going to tell the name of that person. You have to find and Google it. And if you are able to find, post in the comment section after the class, not during the class. But she was the greatest economist of her time. She is a lady, and she was the greatest economist of her time. And she was invited by the Hyderabad University to distribute these things to means degree to the students. And she accepted this thing. So date was fixed, and when you are going to ask or invite some dignitary, and he or she is pioneered his field, then in when she will arrive or he will arrive, you have to tell the audience about his or her work before she is going to distribute the degree. So she was economist, so her contribution to subject of economics known must be informed to the audience. So the senior professor of Hyderabad University was assigned to study her work and to make audience aware of her work and what kind of the status she have in the subject of economics, right? But at very last moment he fell ill, and just 2 days before, the work was assigned to Dr. YV Reddy. So YV Reddy was assigned कि you have to tell audience about her work, कि what kind of the status, what kind of the work she is doing for the subject of economics, right? So in just 2 days, you have to study all of her work, and he studied and he delivered a speech about that economist, right? And after listening him, Dr. YV Reddy, when he delivered his speech, that lady economist was so impressed. He called him and she said that, "Ki, what's your name?" He said that my name is Dr. Y, means my name is YV Reddy. At that time, he was not doctor, means he didn't did his PhD. But she asked, ki, "Okay, what's your name and what is your future plan?" So he said that, ki, "Ma'am, I'm very interested to pioneer this subject like you, and you are my hero. So I want to continue." So she said that, ki, "Okay, Mr. Reddy, I'm giving you one offer. Right now, one student is doing PhD under me, and his PhD is about to complete. And once his PhD is going to complete, I'll send you the letter. You can come to Stockholm because she's a professor in the Stockholm. You can come and do the PhD under me." So you are going to get an opportunity to do the PhD under the most renowned economist of that time. So definitely you will be in the 2 feet in the air, right? And just giving you the guess, you know who was the person who was doing the PhD under her? Professor Amartya Sen. So Professor Amartya Sen was doing PhD under her, right? So you can understand ki what kind of status she have at that point of time. And she invited Dr. Y.V. Reddy to do the PhD under him. So he was very happy. He went back to his home and he said that, "Ki, Father, I was getting this offer from that professor and I want to go there." So his father said that, "Ki, but I want to see you as a civil servant, not an economist." He said, "Okay, fine. I will kill my dream and I'll ready for you, whatever you are going to say there." So Reddy Sahab was preparing for the civil services. Being. I have met him, and I means I was surprised. He is a normal person, but how passionate he is. Still, he is very passionate about that thing. He achieved everything in his life, whatever he dreamed, but still he is passionate. So your passion is going to make you what? The special, right? So live with your passion, do the hard work. Maybe constraints are there. Everybody has constraint in their life, but don't make your constraint as your excuses. Don't make it excuses. Do your hard work so that you will achieve your dream, right? So always keep this thing in your mind. Whenever you will feel low, you can listen this part of lecture. Maybe you will be pumped up like me. So I'm also very passionate about the teaching, right? So now come back to this point again, but have this thing in your mind, right? You have to be passionate. I am going to clear this exam anyhow, right? This passion should be inside you, and this passion is going to make you more focused on these things, right? Now, so I was telling you ki if you know the concepts clearly, you understand these things clearly, then definitely it is going to help you to analyze the thing. So some students who says that ki, I want to go for daily answer writing, or I want to write answer. Yes, you can write the answer. You should write the answer. But the first step is the understanding. If you do not know the technical part of answer writing, that is the knowledge, then answer writing is going to be in futile. You are not able to write a good answer. So first learn, understand, analyze, then start writing. So at least first 2 units, the financial system and the budgeting and taxation, these 2 units are very essential and important from the point of view of answer writing. So those who are watching these lectures, paid subscribers, and even a YouTube audience, so whatever I have taught you in the class, right, in the all these lectures, you have to keep remain those things in your mind. And from third unit onwards, you are able to write an answer. And from third unit onwards, I'm also going to discuss some descriptive questions during the lecture, right, so that you can understand. So WMA facility was introduced, and WMA facility is for what? To address the temporary mismatch. And I'm telling you again and again what I'm telling you when I started this part means bank to the government. Here government means GOI and state government. So what we have discussed for the government of India, same thing. WMA is available for government of India, and WMA is also available to state government. But as you know that the size of the state is different, right? So there is a separate limit for every state, and that is also being fixed by Reserve Bank of India every year. But in the case of the state, WMA have two more part. One is normal and other is special WMA. Normal WMA, normal ways and means advance, and other is special ways and means advance. So what is the difference between normal and special? It makes it special because this will be given to you against security. Means state can avail this facility of special WMA. If they want to avail this facility, they have to give some collateral. Means if state having some government securities with themselves, they have to put some collateral, right? Only then this facility can be avoided. And because they are putting some collateral in terms of whatever the government securities they already have, they have to put in terms of collateral. So that is why interest rate is little bit less. And yes, when I said that about the interest rate here for WMA, generally this interest rate is repo rate. That interest rate is repo rate. Initially, it was decided that market interest rate in 1997, and gradually over the time, at present, it is the repo rate. So whatever will be the repo rate, on the repo rate, you will avail this WMA, whether it is government of India or it is state government. But in special WMA, because state is putting some security there to avail the loan, then in special WMA, interest rate will be repo rate minus 1%. So suppose that interest rate is 4%, then under special WMA, you have to pay the 3% interest. Why? Because state is giving some collateral. Means if state is failed to repay the loan, then RBI can collect that money by whatever the collateral state has given to them, right? So you are giving the collateral, that's why it is secured loan. So secured loan interest rate is low, whereas under the normal WMA, interest rate will be whatever the RR at that point of time, repo rate, right? Repo rate will be at that point of time, that will be the under normal WMA. So it is obvious, state government will go for special WMA or normal WMA? Yes, state government will first go for special WMA. When it is going to exhaust all that money in the special WMA, then they will go for normal WMA. So suppose that it is 10,000, right? And under it is 7,000 special WMA. Okay, because I by mistake I have clicked on that stop sharing. The screen was not available to you. Now screen is available. So I was telling about under the state government, they have two kind of the WMA. One is normal WMA, other is special WMA. So special WMA, under the special WMA, they can avoid the loans by putting some guarantee against those loan, that is collateral. They can put some collateral and they can avoid this facility, and under that facility interest rate will be less than 1% of repo rate. Whereas under normal WMA, state is not supposed to put any security, so interest rate will be repo rate. So when the state is about to avail this facility, state will first will go for what? Special WMA, then it will go for normal WMA. So suppose the limit under WMA for the state is 10,000. So 7,000 under WMA, special WMA, and 3,000 under normal WMA. In that case, first state will try to utilize this one because it is available at low interest rate in comparison to low. When it is exhausted, then you can go for this one. Now question arises, if state has exhausted or central government has exhausted their entire amount, can they go for more funding? Yes. RBI is a lender of last resort. Na? RBI is also a lender of last resort, so RBI have to provide. RBI have to provide. But this time interest rate is going to be plus 2% of repo rate. Right. So you have to pay high interest rate. High interest rate if you want to avail this facility. And another thing, interest rate will be plus 2% of repo rate, plus you have to repay the money within 10 days. If not going to be paid in 10 days, then again 1% penalty will be imposed on the interest rate. So government still withdraw. Government still withdraw money as they are withdrawing in ad hoc treasury bill system. But in ad hoc treasury bill system, interest rate was fixed, so they are using that facility indiscriminately, right? Rather than understanding why this facility is given, that was given to avoid any temporary mismatch, but government started using this facility indiscriminately and it become a source of budgetary finance to fulfill the expenditure, right? But now because of WMA, lot of things has been set. Interest rates are about to normal interest rate, limit is fixed. So all these things is going to force government do not take it as a granted. If you are going to take it as a granted, then you have to pay huge amount of interest rate to RBI. So this WMA not only allow RBI to manage money supply, this allow government first what? First, government is going to fulfill its requirement of temporary mismatch. Whatever the temporary mismatch, that will be covered under WMA. Second thing, it shows government's fiscal discipline. Discipline, right? So fiscal discipline is also being enforced through this WMA. So when it was implemented in 1997, when it was implemented in 1997, so what is happening before 1997? If you will look from outside, means outside the India, if you are looking Indian government and you are studying about the government of India's finance and its activity from Europe or somewhere else, right? You are looking, right? So before 1997, it was always said that the government of India is not following the fiscal discipline, and that is why maybe government of India can go under the deep financial crisis at any point of time. So there is lot of risk in the Indian economy. Lot of risk in the Indian economy if you are investor and you want to invest your money in India. So the risk factor was high. So nobody will encourage to invest in India. But when government has made this agreement with the RBI, that showed government of India's commitment to fiscal discipline, and that encourages lot of foreign investors to invest in India, and the credibility of government of India all over the world increased, especially in the financial parlance. Right? So our financial system become more prudent, right, and more stable. So that is why WMA, Ways and Means Advance, it is a landmark agreement, and it shows maybe both RBI and Government of India have differences, but despite having differences, we went for this agreement because both want the same thing. What government want, financial system should grow. RBI want it should grow, but with stability. So RBI functions on the principle of growth but with stability. Government sometimes they can miss this point stability. They are more focused on the growth, right? But it is RBI who is always going to push government. It is RBI who is always going to push government, remind government through its reports, committee, commissions, or sometimes speeches given by the former governor or present governor, what regarding the stability. So that is why central bank is also work as a philosopher to the government regarding financial system, right? So this is all about the government functioning as a sorry RBI's functioning as a bank to the government. Now the next is, we are discussing about the functions of RBI. Now next is currency function, right? So currency function will be divided into two parts. RBI's role regarding foreign currencies and Indian currency, right? And especially Indian currency, first I will explain currency management, then I will go to monetary policy, So policy part I will discuss, but first I'll discuss this currency management. From currency management, I'll shift to monetary policy part. During this transition, I will explain you about first money and liquidity, and how to calculate money supply, right? Then I'll go here monetary policy. But before dealing this part, first we will discuss how RBI manages foreign currency. At present, there is an act which empowers RBI to manage foreign currencies in India, and that is FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. And this act actually replaced FERA, and that was Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973. Right, Foreign Exchange Regulation Act 1973. So before 1973, how RBI was managing this? Under RBI Act 1934. So whatever written in RBI Act 1934, that was sufficient. As per the government and RBI, both feels that ki whatever is written in the RBI Act 1934, that is sufficient to manage foreign currency from 1935 to 1970s. Right. But in 1970s, India has faced acute shortage of the foreign currencies, and even India was not able to manage its imports. So then need was arises कि we should give more power to RBI so that RBI can manage foreign currencies more effectively, right? More effectively. And two options were there: either we can add more things in this RBI Act, but the severity of the issue was like that कि there should be the separate set of rules and regulation which completely focus only on the foreign currencies flow, inflow and outflow. That is why this Foreign Exchange Regulation Act was passed. Right. And the main motive behind this act was we should stop outflow of foreign currencies. Our main focus was to stop too much and unnecessary outflow of foreign currencies from India. Right? Because the nature of the Indian economy was the socialist kind of mixed economy. Most of the economic activities is done by the government. So government was focused on this point कि we do not allow the free movement of foreign currencies from India. But when Indian economy has changed its nature through liberalization, privatization, and globalization reforms, then it was feel that कि we should not just focus, we should not focus outflows, we should focus inflows, and we have to make certain policy changes so that we can encourage more inflows, right? In order to manage more inflows, maybe we have to allow the outflows also. So we have to make it more workable in such a manner the inflow and outflow of foreign currencies should be more fluent and without any hindrance. So that is why the Regulation Act was changed and Management Act was introduced. Foreign Exchange Management Act. Right. Now, even we can go to other details also, but we have one unit that is, I think, fifth or sixth unit where we are going to discuss balance of payment. And in that chapter, we will know how foreign exchange works. How foreign exchange work. Why $1 is at around 78 or even 80 rupees, but when we see dinar, one Kuwaiti dinar is around 200 rupees, right? Kuwaiti dinar is of around 200 rupees, right? Whereas dollar is of 78 rupees. Sometimes it increases, sometimes it decreases. Why dinar is so costly? Why dinar is so costly, whereas dollar is comparatively cheap, right? At the same time, pound sterling or euro is also having the higher value around 85 to 90. So how this exchange works, right? How this exchange work, it always create a problem to all the students ki how this exchange rate work. So we will understand this exchange rate kind of the thing in balance of payment chapter, and international economy we will understand in this chapter, and there we are going to discuss in detail. Here, for currency function, just for right now, you should keep this thing in your mind. RBI manages what? Foreign currencies inflow and outflow, right? RBI manages foreign currencies inflow and outflow through Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, right? And how it works, what is balance of payment, how foreign currencies exchange will work, and how RBI it is manages. We must first know the balance of payment, right? Only then we are able to understand. So I'm not going to in detail right now here. Otherwise, I have to explain the entire chapter. Right. So it is not possible to first explain the entire chapter of balance of payment. I'll explain you later. So just for right now, you can keep thing in your mind. Who manages the foreign currencies in India? RBI. Right? Inflow and outflow managed by the RBI. Under which act? It is managed under Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999. Right? So this is the act which empowers RBI. Now we have to move the Indian currency part. Right? So we will discuss the currency management and monetary policy. Uh, so currency management, if I'll start, I need another 40 to 45 minutes or 30 to 35 minutes to explain you. So I'm not going to start right now. I'll start tomorrow. The currency management, how the currency is being printed, where it is printed, what denomination can be printed, all these things I'll discuss in the next lecture. Right. So before going ahead, means completing this lecture, I'll take some questions which you have posted on the YouTube. WMA from 1997. Yes, WMA from 1997. सर क्या आरबीआई की तैयारी सही रहेगा? इसका हाल एसएससी जैसा तो नहीं है. My dear Cooper, no, RBI is very punctual, not like SSC. Right. They are very punctual. They do their exam in proper manner. No need to worry. Sir, अभी करवा दीजिए. Okay, depends upon revenue earned by the government. Please listen. Stuck. Screen out. Not visible. Please rectify, sir. Okay. Please continue story from Dr. Y.V. Reddy when he killed his dream and start preparing for the UPSC. Screen was out. I hope I mean, I'm sorry, screen was out, but I hope you have heard what I told you, right? And there are a lot of people, not only just YV Reddy, there are a lot of people. The problem in our country is that only political heroes are being, means I'm not criticizing, I'm just telling you ki what problem in our system is. Only heroes who are being considered as a hero, right? Uh, they are coming from the political background, right? They are coming from the political background. They are not from economic field of economics. Their contribution is not being highlighted. Their contribution, especially from the field of economics, their contribution is not highlighted in the proper manner. Lot of people, right? I have a book where means lot of people who has contributed for our banking system. I'll show you in the next class. I have that book where they have mentioned a lot of people, and another banker who established the Central Bank of India. He also have a very inspiring story, right? So if you want, I'll share that story with you. But there are a lot of people, my dear. There are a lot of people. Fine. So apart from that, there is no more question. So I'm going to wind it up here. In the next class, I'll start currency management and then we will move towards the monetary policy function. Okay. So thank you very much for watching this lecture. And if you have any doubt, and one more thing, I'll do the current affairs session on Sunday, right? So please join that current affairs session, and you can also share that thing with your friends to join that session. Definitely, it is going to change your perception about to how to go for current affairs. Fine. So thank you very much.